So next up, Robert Englund,
Freddy's Funhouse.
the burnt-faced guy, Wiener himself, has a little news to share with us. What he'd like to say is that he wrote a script back in the day that was going to become the third installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street series before Dream Warriors, where it basically followed around the older sister of Tina, the death from body bag situation with the snakes and maggots all around her feet in the very first Nightmare on Elm Street. It follows around her, the sister of that girl, with her doing her own Nancy Drew, trying to figure out what happened and what's going on Elm Street other than nightmares. I'm glad it didn't happen.
So it's crazy, man, because so many people wanted to write that Nightmare 3 script. Wes Craven had his script for Nightmare 3, which some of it ended up being diluted into the Dream Warriors film that we got. But John Saxon himself, the handsome son of a bitch, hairy chest, wonderful eyebrows, person that he
lost in his eyes.
He wrote his own script for Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and now we find out that Robert Englund wrote one too, and he wanted to call it Freddy's Funhouse. What he had to say exactly about it was that he told comicbook.com, he said, I submitted a script back in the day around Nightmare on Elm Street 3, which would be the older sister of the character Tina from Nightmare 1 would return to the franchise or would be introduced to the franchise as a kind of collegiate X-Files Nancy Drew because she was on this obsessed quest to find out what really happened to her sister. I think that would be really interesting to discover the truth of Nightmare on Elm Street to the eyes, and then she would fulfill the balance of the ingredients and the recipe and the menu of Nightmare on Elm Street, which is you need a strong woman always to take you through. It always has to be through the eyes of a strong woman because even if they're skeptical and wise and cynical, they still need to lose some of their innocence about the darkness and the evil that lurks in the world.
I don't know about all that, but okay, because Jesse was a great fucking final guy, so it doesn't always have to be, you know, the way he was saying it, but I mean, it's cool.
Sure.
The idea is a good, it was a solid idea, but would I give it up for fucking what we got from Dream Warriors? Fuck no. What I actually would love to see is Wes Craven's uncut vision of Nightmare 3, if they'd had the money and the backing and the production to do that.
Which we did.
It was insane. The script was, like, the unedited, underfiltered script was good.
We did a whole script review of that, and we tore through it, but we did a whole video on that, and you know, some of it, I have a hard time imagining that making it to the screen, because some of it you can just see costing a lot of fucking money, but yeah, obviously you want the hardcore, and what I wanted was the rated R version that was too hot for TV, that Wes Craven originally wrote.
See them girls making out with fucking margaritas. But yeah, also, when he does go on to mention, I won't read it, but he goes on to mention that he feels like the movie couldn't be made now at all, even if they wanted to take that idea and make a new movie out of it, because the detective work that she did was antiquated. So I'm assuming that what he means is that she was actually going to something we called a library back in the day, when AOL was just AOL, it was 3 letters, and you didn't really have instant access to Google or all that bullshit. So it's like this bitch walking around with the Encyclopedia Britannica's like, what? I know everything. they would just wouldn't work. But I was like, yeah, it'd be a quick update for it if they wanted to do that. But I don't, honestly, I think the studio turned it down. First off, if it was up against Wes Craven's script, there's no way. They don't care. I mean, you're already getting paid a ton of money to be Freddy Krueger, so they're not going to care about what you have to say as far as your own vision. But second off, I feel like the story, following around the one girl and the fact that she's investigating the murders and wants to find out what happened to her sister Tina, I don't know, man. Like, I felt like it was a stronger idea to bring Nancy back from the first one and have that story be, sealed and completed, rather than have Tina, who was really, she's a great character and it was a great actress, and the death scene was memorable as fuck. But nobody, it was Tina. Like, it was like, that was it. I don't really see how she was a strong idea of a sister was going to. I would have rather gone with the guy that fucking got killed in the jail cell that everybody accused and said he fucking killed her. But I always wondered though, it's like Wes Craven, these guys kept on popping up with scripts and he found out about it and he's like, what the fuck? It's like, that's my shit.
Yeah.
And he was like,
stop drinking my Kool-Aid.
It's like, get off my Kool-Aid. Stop spiking it.
Why are you wheezing on my grinder?
That's my mad dog. But no, it's like, god damn, guys. Like, I didn't even want to make a sequel to the first one. Like, you added that bullshit in where she gets sucked, some fucking terrible idea. She gets sucked through the fucking window.
Yeah.
The blow-up doll that fucking, what's his Shea, Bob Shea was using to probably have sex with, but he's like, you're going to use that to have him get sucked through the window, which he hated. And then he finds out, he's like, all right, you know what, I'll make one more movie, Nightmare on Elm Street. He's like, oh, well, we got like 2 scripts. We've got like John Saxon's and we've got him. He's like, what the fuck is going on? WTF? But yeah, I don't know. It's just, but it sounded like an interesting idea. I'm glad it didn't get made because I'd rather see the Dream Warriors rather than what this is.
Yeah, ultimately Dream Warriors.
Do you know what this feels like? It does feel like the Freddy's, like, what was it, Freddy's Funhouse?
Yeah.
It feels like it almost feels like that could be an episode in the Freddy's Nightmares.
I think Freddy's Funhouse would have worked. Like, I think as its own film, it would have worked. Like, if you don't compare it with the Nightmare 3 we got, because many people look at that as one of the best films of the franchise. If you don't compare it with that film, I think his story could have been great. It could have worked.
It just sounds like so. It just sounds like so universally like. It just sounds like a goddamn ride that just opened up. It's going to close down in 5 years at Universal Studios that no one gives a shit about. Because it's like, okay, you got Nightmare 1, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Then you got Nightmare 2, Freddy's Revenge. That makes sense. Yeah. Then you got Nightmare 3, Freddy's Funhouse. Like, what the shit are you smoking?
Kind of goes right with Freddy's Revenge.
How many Cracker Jack boxes did you go through?
But, I mean, fuck, what else did the Dream Warrior?
The Dream Warriors was at least it made sense.
I know, but I don't know. I wouldn't putting up anything against Nightmare 3, even though it's not my favorite of the franchise. For me, the original is the favorite. I didn't like the second half with all the fantasy shit. Like the movie overall, I think the first half of Nightmare on Elm Street 3, dude, the first half of that movie where they're in the fucking mental asylum and they've got all these cool ass characters that are going through this stuff, and you've got the nasty ass kill. Dude, if I really wish, and I know that this is an unpopular opinion, but I so badly wish they would have stayed in that world and not gone full fantasy. Full fucking Harry Potter like they did. That could have been one of the greatest horror movies of all time, in my opinion, had they centered the script around what was happening in the first half of the movie. I'll never let go of that opinion, even though people disagree with it.
No, I mean, I like the fantasy style of it, but at the same time, I understand like why it kind of came off as like a different, like it came off. And I had to say that because I love the movie. It came off as kind of cheesy in a lot of ways. It was fun because at that point where Freddy had finally had his voice. You know what I mean? Like, and he started becoming more iconic with his voice. Yeah. And then he's smart. He's like, "Sorry, kid, I don't believe in fairy tales." And he like stabs him. That was fucking cool.
Oh, they did a lot right.
But at the same time, like if it was directed by Wes Craven, it was Wes Craven's like full vision. That could have been fucking dope as fuck. Like that whole like dream thing would have been amazing.
But just another piece of the Nightmare on Elm Street lore, a movie. A version that you never saw that could have happened, that could have taken place. And again, I would love to fucking get my hands on not only John Saxon's full script, but I would love to read like someone find Robert Englund and be like, "Hey, can I get my hands on that script?"
I'm actually surprised
it's not been leaked out. Can you just put that on Wattpad or some shit? I would love to read that script and then we can do a script review for it. I'm gonna try.
I like to read that shit on Bing.
I'm gonna try. He's never gonna read my emails or my messages on Facebook, but I'm gonna reach out and I'm gonna try to find that fucking script. Hey man, let us read that shit.
I think if we keep insulting him, that he'll reach out and be like, "Fuck you."
We watched a movie. Yeah. We watched a movie. We watched it. We watched a movie. Yeah. You know what? We did a review. We watched a movie. We watched a movie.